I am so excited about this. Today we're going to be making some super hot fermented hot sauce. First things first though, we need to go back a few months when I kicked off this whole process. The chili we're going to be using is the Naga Morich. I absolutely love this chili. It is a very productive plant, and the chilies are nice sizes as well. The flavor is awesome and the heat level is insane. Naga Morichs are just beautiful. These plants can grow massive and you always get a decent harvest, and they're just beautiful looking. We're going to be doing a vacuum seal fermentation, which means we don't need as much salt as with some of the other methods. We're going to be doing a 2% concentration. We're just using some pink Himalayan rock salt, but you can use other salts as well, some sea salt or anything else that's non-iodized. Although some people say it doesn't make any difference with fermentation, I still prefer not to go with iodized salt. Be careful of the fumes. This stuff is seriously spicy. And as always, remember not to blend it up too fast, too vigorously, because if this warms up too much, you can kill the lactobacillus. If you aren't familiar with the vacuum seal method, basically what you're doing is you're removing all the air from the bag. You're going to be putting all the mash inside it, and basically that will inhibit any pathogens or any growth that you don't want inside your fermentation. We achieve that with normal fermentations like a brine fermentation or a mash fermentation inside a jar with an airlock normally, but there's still risk because of the air and that sort of thing. There are some downsides as well, as much as this might look like a perfect solution for fermenting. The biggest one for me is not being able to reuse the plastic, but it does make for a foolproof fermentation. So if you are doing smaller batches and you have one of these, then go for it. One thing to remember, make sure that you have a moist setting on your vacuum seal. If you don't have a moist setting on your vacuum seal, you're going to come up with some problems. But when you do measure out your bag, make sure that you leave more than enough space for expansion. The challenge here is always, how do you get all of the mash out of there without wasting? Oh, that smells so strong. Oh, it's going to be a hot one. Another question I get while I'm doing this is, should you sanitize your bag? Now, strictly speaking, you probably should, but these bags should hopefully be sanitary as they come, because they are meant to be food grade or for food purposes. So you shouldn't need to, but if you really want to, you can give them a spray with some star sand. However, anything that's going to come into contact with the chilies, especially at this stage, you want to spray it down. So this spatula here, I've sprayed it down with some star sand, which is just phosphoric acid, and it is food grade and it won't be harmful to your fermentation. But it will inhibit pathogen growth and any other nasties that might try and ruin your fermentation. I wish this was simpler, because the quicker I do this, the quicker I can go and wash my face. I am sweating and all this spice is sticking to my face and it's burning. Well, that seemed like it did a really good job, actually. Pretty pleased with that. So you can still see there are a couple little air bubbles in there, but that is inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. That is all sealed up. Look at that. Perfect. So that fermentation now is ready to get started. We're going to go and stick that inside the fermentator, which is a temperature-controlled fridge. For those that get confused as to why I'm putting my fermentations in a fridge, it is a modified fridge that is built for fermenting. Here is our beautiful Naga Morich fermentation. So it's February 2023 at the moment. I did snip this a little bit to release some CO2 because that's part of the process when you are fermenting. Lactic acid is produced and CO2. So the lactobacillus are in there doing their job, eating away the sugars, and it releases that CO2, which can, when you're doing these vacuum seal fermentations, it can expand the bag. If you're using an airlock, then obviously it expends itself out the airlock and you'll see bubbling happening. So that's the first thing I did, because it's very active right in the beginning and you get a lot of CO2 happening, especially with nice ripe chilies. So I had to release some of that CO2. And then the second thing I did, which is why there's a long line over there, is I opened this up to add in a little bit more of my Naga Morichs because they were coming ripe. September is kind of when you get your first big harvest here in the UK of the superhots. But I had further harvests throughout, well, towards the end of September, October, and then pretty much ended towards the back end of October. So this has 2 batches that have gone in here, but it's looking perfectly healthy. You notice just there a little bit of this growth that you don't want. I'm going to change gloves after I've done this, but you can see I can kind of scrape it off. It's all on the outside, a little bit more over there, and yeah, just on the bag. But otherwise, this is looking fantastic. Still a little bit of bubbles in there, and you can see there's a little bit more air that's been created, but yeah, this is a healthy looking fermentation, and it's time for us to process it and make it into some delicious hot sauce. This is diluted star san, and just give that a spritz. I'll do my best to avoid any of that nastiness going into my sauce. And definitely wear gloves if you're working with anything with this sort of heat. Wow, there's some serious aromas going on here. Smells amazing. I think we might just have enough space. This is, as you can see, going to be a pretty thick sauce. I am going to dilute it down a little bit. I'm going to need to give this a bit of a test with my pH meter. I just want to confirm things are good. Oh man, just look at that. That is gorgeous. Well, that's beautiful. 3.8, 3.7 pH, so can't ask for better than that. And don't forget, give these things a clean as soon as you've used them. Don't leave them to sit for a while, because that'll be a pain to get clean. I'll leave a link down below for an article where I talk about pH meters for hot sauce, and I'll link this one in that article as well. This is the one I've kind of settled on, but yeah, go check out that article if you're interested in getting a pH meter. You don't have to spend a fortune. I would say though, the little strips that you get, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend those. Let's give that a go, just a little bit. This is going to be hot. I haven't done a super hot for a little while now, but whoa. Wow, that's some heat up front there. Oh, that's almost instant tears. Wow. Now, that is hot. That is so hot. Didn't expect it to be that hot, to be honest. Ah, it's an instant heat, coating the mouth. Flavors are great, honestly. I know I get comments a lot in my videos saying, how can you even taste anything when it's so hot? But there are some amazing flavors there. But Wow, that is steaming hot. My eyes are watering properly now. It's also a good idea to taste it before you start adding any ingredients, because it's good to have a baseline of what you're working with. I know this chili quite well, so I kind of know what works with it. The other thing you're looking for, especially if you're doing a vacuum seal fermentation, yes, this is hot. Especially when you're doing a vacuum seal fermentation, you're not adding as much salt as you would normally when you're making a fermentation that has an airlock. I'm using 2% salt in this, and purely for the reason that you don't need a lot of salt in vacuum seal fermentation. It's because of the nature of what it is. It's calming down a little bit. But that also means that you might find you need a little bit more salt adding to your sauce. So that's one reason why to use less salt when you're making your fermentation originally, because it gives you options later on to add a little bit more salt. You can't take salt away. So if you make it too salty, it's not a good thing. Oh, that's like a hammer. Let's get back to this. We need to actually make this into a sauce. Oh, that's hot. I'm going to go get something to drink. Give me a sec. Okay, that's better. Got my senses back a bit. For this amount, I'm going to be adding about a teaspoon of salt, because it definitely does need a bit more salt. And that's up to you, your preference, how you want your sauce to taste. But I can definitely taste this needs salt. This here is a basic fermentation. And typically at this stage, I would just blend this up with a little bit of vinegar, and then I'd bottle it. And that would be my nice, basic, beautiful Naga Morich hot sauce. However, I am going to be doing something a little different today. You might know in previous videos I've mentioned I'm not a fan of mustard, but I have had some beautiful hot sauces that had some mustard added to it, and it really brought out some interesting flavors. So I'm going to be trying that out with this sauce. Not a lot of mustard. I think we're going to do probably a teaspoon of mustard seeds. And this is just plain old mustard seeds, nothing special. And that's going to go in. We'll taste it at the end and see if we need to add any more. And the very final ingredient is some vinegar. We're going to top this up. I think I need a little bit more space in here, so I probably would want more vinegar normally, but let's see how it goes with this. I might need to do it in a couple batches, and this is just going to spill everywhere, isn't it? Oh, this is not going to work well. Yep, I'm going to have to do this in 2 batches, or I'm going to have to do it in my other blending jug. Okay, other blending jug, because that's just going to spill everywhere. So let's get that in there. And we're going to add a little bit more vinegar, because I wanted about 100 milliliters in total. Really don't need a lot. And when you use a decent quality vinegar like this lovely white wine vinegar, which is from Italy, you just don't get that really harsh vinegar taste that a lot of people don't like. So give that a try if you haven't before. If all you've ever used is distilled white vinegar, give this a try and you might be pleasantly surprised. Okay, let's do it. These Vitamixes, they are able to heat this up by friction, and that will actually stop any potential lactobacillus continuing its activity and creating bottle bombs. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is, of course, make sure that this has fermented thoroughly through, so there are no more sugars available to it. And then there's obviously nothing else for the lactobacillus to eat, unless you go and add things like garlic or other things that have even the smallest amount of sugars in them. And then the final way, obviously, instead of doing the Vitamix, heating it up, you can just heat it up on the stove. And you want about 5 minutes at around a slight simmer. You don't want to go too much higher than that, because you can ruin the flavors. You can't really see it, but there was a bit of steam coming off the top there. Wow! Jeepers. There's some fumes there. Wow. Careful how you breathe. But doesn't that look amazing? That is very, very thick. You might want to water it down even further, and you can do that a few different ways. A little bit more vinegar if you want, or you can actually go with a bit of water as well. The pH level of the original fermentation is low enough that you don't really need the vinegar to help it be shelf stable. But yeah, you can go and add in some water and you can bring that down a bit. Now I'm just trying to think. I mean, that's... I don't know. I kind of like it. Yeah, fumes, wow. Okay, while we decide what we're going to do there, let's go and clean our bottles, getting them ready to be used. So I've given this a little taste again. I think we are going to be adding a bit more liquid because that is very, very thick. And number one, it's going to be difficult to get that in the bottles. But number two, I just think it needs a little more something there. And I think that something is some more white wine vinegar. So we're going to probably add another 100 milliliters of the white wine vinegar, not water. And again, if you're doing this for yourself, you can try out a few different things yourself and find what works well for you. Okay, I think we're ready. We're going to open this up again. You should notice some steam. Yep. And fumes. Careful of those. Wow. Yeah, don't underestimate that. Wow. But yeah, that's looking good. That's going to be hot. And I'm sure whoever gets a bottle of this is going to enjoy the pain. Finally, I get to use this cool little device. This is something that was sent to me by one of my patrons, Peter. Thank you so much, my friend. Obviously, it just gets in everywhere. So nothing goes to waste. That is excellent. The colors on this is just amazing. Absolutely gorgeous. A deep, deep red. I hope you can make it out on the camera, but it's a lovely, deep, rich red. Looks dangerous. We have 4 bottles here that I will be putting up for sale. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. One of them I'm going to give away to somebody in the comments. And all you need to do is, inside your comment, just mention the word Naga, N-A-G-A. And yeah, you'll be up for a chance to win one of these bottles. I'll ship anywhere in the world, and you should be getting that, no problem. The other 3... 2 of them I will be putting up on public auction, and the third one I'll be putting up on a private auction just for patrons and my YouTube members, just as a bit of a thank you. But oh, that looks so good. The smell is decent. Whoever does win this, whether they win the auction or whether they win this for free from the giveaway down below, I'd love you to try it on a video and send me that video. You can send it to my website, ChilliChump.com/contact. And yeah, we'll maybe play that on a live stream in the future. Let's do a little bit here. Again, I don't want to overdo it. It's just a touch on the end of the spoon here. Let's give it a go. It's just, yeah, same as before. Instant heat. The lovely smooth texture is actually really nice. Trying to see how much of the mustard I can pick up. It's subtle. It's not very strong. Not in your face. But well, that's got some heat. That'll definitely warm you up. And yeah, you shouldn't really be eating this by the spoonful. This as a nice simple hot sauce is fantastic. I still got to come up with the name of it. I'm sure you're going to see it on the thumbnail of this video, but I have a few ideas. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, stay spicy. Whew.